everyone, and welcome to another family art project with myself. I am Autumn, the education coordinator here at Studio 23. If you got to catch Tara's previous segment, you saw that we are focusing on the art today of Barbara Plazia. So Barbara Plazia, if you watched the previous segment, you saw that she has some very beautiful paintings. She does pen and ink. And what stands out most to me about Barbara's work, because I'm very familiar with Barbara and her work, is the beautiful amount of detail and the attention paid to color. And then also, by looking at her work, you can really see just how much she is inspired by nature, whether it be being inspired by horses or inspired by chickens or inspired by keeping bees. It seems like there is very often a theme of nature in Barbara's pieces. So today I thought that we would do a family painting also inspired by nature and animals. I thought I'd mix it up and do maybe a little different piece. I don't know that I've seen Barbara do bison. I don't know, Barbara, if you're watching, have you ever done paintings of bison? You probably have. So we're gonna do a painting of a bison, and I'll put it a little closer for you so you can see. And this is actually gonna be really easy, and I'll take you through it step by step. So the supplies that you're gonna need are, I used a piece of construction paper for the background, and now you want a color that's going to be the color of your sky. So you know, if you've watched previous segments with me, you know I don't like a blue sky. I like the fact that skies are many other colors, so I picked pink. You pick your favorite color for a sky. Then you're also going to need a piece of construction paper that is like maybe some type of green for the grass. And then you're also going to need a yellow piece of construction paper. Barbara says no bison, but she knows, oh, now if you know where to find some, Barbara, now I want to see some bison paintings. You're also going to want some yellow down here for the bottom. And then I created the bison out of cardstock, but I think you could also use paper. I think you could even use cardboard if you didn't have anything like that laying around. And then as far as paint goes, I really only used white paint for my mountains, some orange paint for my sun, and then let's see, scissors to cut out, glue stick, a fork so I could do this sgraffito technique down here, and then an old card to scrape with. And to paint, see the bison, he kind of looks like watercolor, but to paint him, actually I used some old coffee grounds that I let soak in water. I thought it would be cool, like, you know, maybe to get a little texture out of it, and I don't know, something about nature and using something from nature. I thought it would be interesting. So those are the basic supplies you're gonna need for this. I'll adjust my camera and we'll get started. Okay, so let's see. Flip this around so we can see our example. Now, to start with, I would start with your bison, and I have him in two parts. You could easily just draw this out. It's not anything that has to be exactly perfect. Or if you want, I will also post in the comments a template that you can use to cut out. Let's say if you have a younger student that's maybe not so comfortable just drawing, but really easy. You just want to draw them out. I'll take my pieces and I'll kind of trace them. And I'm going to trace them quickly. I'm sure you will take your time. That done. Now we're going to cut this guy out. And here we go. All right. We'll move this along, but we want to get this cut out from our cardstock. Or like I said, cardboard. You could just as easily use cardboard for your bison. You just want something that's probably going to be a little bit thicker than just regular old paper, just because we're using something similar to a watercolor by using the coffee grounds and water. And so if you use plain paper, it's really just going to soak it up really quickly, and there's a chance you could even do a little damage to the paper and maybe put a hole in it or something, depending on how much your student works that paper over. So this way, if you use a thicker paper, you're not going to have to worry about that. All right. And good, we got them cut out. All right, so now we're going to use our coffee grounds, and I'm just going to go in with a watercolor brush. And I'm just going to start, and I'm not so much painting it as I'm kind of placing it. Ooh, it smells good. That smells like coffee. Waking me up. Because I like the fact that it's going to give a little texture. I like that, and a little pattern. You know, it's going to kind of give the idea of fur, or, you know, something along those lines. And when it dries, the grounds even sticking to it might even do something interesting, right? Now, if you really are concerned and you don't like maybe the color, because that's a very, very neutral brown happening, you could go in with a little bit of brown watercolor and warm it up, even on this front half, just to kind of show the difference between, you know, the really fuzzy part of the bison up here as opposed to the back. So ideally, you're going to let that set and dry completely before you move on to the next part of the project. I have one done, so we can move on. All right, so the next part, I'm going to use my pink sky for my background because I think a pink sky is beautiful. So we're going to go for that. So I have some white paint, all right, and I'm just going to do a bunch of drops of white. All right, and I want it to look like mountains, so I'm just going to go in with my card. I'm not even going to use a brush for this part. And I'm going to start making mountain shapes, just going back and forth. And I'm just kind of shaking it back and forth. And I can still move this around. There we go. I'll try not to make too much of a mess. And I can go in, let's say if I want to fix something. It's pretty forgiving. All right. All right. Now this thin paint, or excuse me, this white paint that I'm using is a little bit on the thin side. If you wanted to, you could always let it dry and do another coat of white, depending on what you want your mountains to look like. I'm just going to move along for the sake of time. So our next step is we want the green of our grass. And we're just going to tear it. We're going to tear, let's see, if I line this up at the bottom, it'll be a nice even edge. And I think actually this looks pretty good where it's at. So ideally you would just tear it right down in half so it lines up where you want on your paper. I don't even need to do that though. I didn't plan that. I don't think I could if I tried. All right, so we're just gonna glue it down. There we go. Glue down our grass. All right, got our grass. Now we're gonna move on to the yellow grass down here at the bottom. And same thing, if we line it up, we can have a clean edge. And then I'm gonna tear it, we'll say right about here. So I'm just gonna tear it. It's all right if it's uneven, because it's natural, it's organic. It does not need to be even. All right. So, yep, and that will be good. All right, so then for this part, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some orange paint, and I'm gonna put a nice thick layer of orange paint on here, and brush it around. Now with this, I kind of want to work quickly because I'm going to do a technique called sgraffito on it. And if you're not familiar with that, and maybe that's a little art term you want to teach your student, sgraffito is really just applying layers and then scratching some of it away. And it's really just used to create contrast, to create pattern, and create texture. So that's a great little art term you can use to teach your students, sgraffito. And I believe it's like Italian, and I think it literally means to scratch, so makes sense, right? All right, so now I'm gonna take my plastic fork and I'm gonna start scratching away. And see how it's pulling away that orange paint, leaving the yellow underneath. And I'm just gonna keep doing that because I want it to look like grass in a field, right? That's what I'm creating some texture, I'm creating some little bit of pattern and whatnot, and I'm, you know, it's something different to break up the lines of the construction paper, and just something that you're gonna pull some attention to in your piece. All right, and I think that's good enough for this example. Clean up a little bit, there we go. All right, let's get it attached. So I'm gonna go ahead, glue it down. Now ideally I would let my little paper here dry, and I'd probably just glue that and attach it so I can make sure the edges are sticking as well. But for sake of time, I'll do it like this. All right, got that layer. And then it's really just attaching your bison that we already did in our coffee paint. Still smells good, smells like coffee. Making me want a cup of decaf. All right, now this probably won't stick so well because that is pretty wet, but that's okay. You get the idea. All right, we'll get this front piece on. And we got him down. And then if you wanted, you could take something graphite, something that you could blend, and you could do some shadows and areas where there might be a little shadow and blend that, you know. You could do little things like that. There might be a little here. You could blend that out. And then also if you want to give him a small little horn like we have up front here, you're just going to want to take a piece of white paper, maybe if you have that cardstock still, piece of that, and you're just gonna make a little sort of J shape. And of course it does not have to be perfect, right? We're not looking for perfection here, we're trying to have fun with art. And you're gonna cut that. And then you would just glue that right down. And that is it. That is how we are going to make our Barbara Plazia inspired nature pieces. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you try this out, try this project out. It's really fun. It's not very hard at all. And it's a great thing to do on a chilly, cloudy day like today. If you do, of course, we want you to share it with us. You can share it with us on our social media, our Facebook, our Instagram, whichever. Email it to us. We would just love to see what you're working on. And that's it for me today. Up next is Val. She's got a fantastic project waiting. And otherwise, I'll see you all next week. Bye.